Hi, my name is Tom Spiegel. I am the host of the I Got Fired podcast, where we talk about cutting edge legal issues for people who've been fired or afraid that they might be. I'm also founder of the Spiegel Law Firm. We represent employees in the DC metro region and all throughout Virginia. So here's my third installment on contingency fee arrangements. And the first one, I'll talk about the basics of contingency fee arrangements, what they are, how they work. And the second one, we talked about some tactics for maximizing your chance to get a contingency fee relationship and some things you might want to do to avoid some red flags that law firms look out for that might result in your case being rejected. And just a little bit of legalese here. A reminder that this is not intended as legal advice for your specific case. It is educational information. If you need specific legal advice that is tailored to the facts of your case, then you got it. You need to consult with or hire an attorney. All right, so this is the third part where I want to talk about an issue that comes up a lot, and that is, what is the difference between contingency representation and pro bono? Because people are often confused about that, and they'll call our office and they're asking for pro bono representation when really what they want is contingency fee representation. So here's the difference. Pro bono means without cost. So essentially you are being represented for free by the lawyer or the law firm. In contingency fee cases, you are, it feels like you're being represented for free because you're not paying for those fees as the case goes along. You only pay for it when there's a settlement because the attorney takes a percentage out of what the settlement or whatever the verdict is. So if you settle your case, it's using round numbers here, for $1,000, and the attorney has a 40% contingency fee agreement with you, the attorney's getting $400 and you're getting $600. If you're pro bono, the attorney gets none of that. So here's the thing to consider. Pro bono is often for people who are low income and cannot afford legal fees. That's true also for many people who are who get contingency fee arrangements. So, if you don't have two coins to rub together in your pocket, you're broke, but you're in a T-bone car accident, then you can bet you're going to get contingency representation from a personal injury attorney, and you're not going to pay for that. At least right up front, while the case is ongoing, except maybe some fees here and there, you're not paying much for that representation. You won't pay at all unless there is some kind of verdict or settlement at the end. Pro bono cases, on the other hand, tend to be for people who are low income, who don't have a case that what I'll say has an upside, where there's some possibility that you're going to get paid for what happened to you. That certainly is true in personal injury cases. That's how they work. And as we talked about in the first episode, contingency fee is one model for employment law cases, although employment law representation is a bit more complicated for the variety of reasons we discussed in the first installment of this contingency fee series. So pro bono is, you're broke. There's a breach of contract. You're being sued by, your neighbor, your former employer, you name it, a local drugstore, and you get a law firm or a lawyer to represent you without cost. These tend to be hard arrangements to find, but not impossible. So if and it certainly doesn't hurt if you have a question about, is my case pro bono or is it possible for contingency fee, go ask some lawyers. Go to nolo.com or avvo.com. And you can ask a lawyer there, hey, here's kind of what happened to me. Is this a case where I might get a contingency fee arrangement? And if so, then you've got a much wider pool of law firms and lawyers you can contact to seek representation. If it's not, for instance, let's say it's a landlord-tenant matter. Often those are not cases you can get on pro bono, but you can't afford a lawyer. Then you're going to need an organization that's going to represent you for free, which is a much smaller pool, but they're out there. So if you need pro bono, how would you find that? There are law firms who offer, limited pro bono representation. This tends to be bigger law firms that do that. Sometimes they'll even, depending on how big the law firm is, they'll have their own pro bono coordinators. You want to get in touch with the law firm, and they'll have their own process for deciding which cases they're going to take and which ones they don't. Another one is to go through some kind of special interest organization. There are, for instance, if it's a landlord-tenant matter, there are organizations that help renters, and they might be, have a pipeline to these law firms or other organizations that take cases on a pro bono basis. There are also law firms and law schools. That's another area to check. A lot of law schools have clinics where you can get low or no cost representation. Let's say you have a child with special needs and you've got an issue coming up with the school, and you can't afford legal representation. Like Georgetown University Law Center has a clinic that specializes in representing parents with children of special needs. And there are clinics like that all across the nation with law firms. So you can always reach out to the law firm or to one of these advocacy organizations to see if you can get some help. Because some of these law firms do take pro bono cases, but they will only take them through another organization. So you can't just pick up the phone and call them. That said, it doesn't hurt to try. So that's the difference between pro bono and contingency. Pro bono, it's at no cost to you, no matter what happens in the case. Contingency is you're still paying for those fees, but only if there's a recovery. So you're not paying for the attorney's fees and the attorney time as the case is going on. So it feels like you're getting represented for free. So if you're looking for representation and you don't have the money to afford it, then the first question you want to know is do you have the type of case where you can get a contingency fee arrangement? Personal injury, again, slip and fall, T-bone car accident, a medical malpractice, are cases where contingent fee relationships are very common. Overtime cases, those can be cases in employment law side where you can get contingency fee arrangement. Some kind of whistleblower cases, particularly there's a lot of money at stake, you can get contingent fee arrangements. In some states, for instance, in California, when we're talking about landlord-tenant, it's very tenant-friendly. There are some good laws out there. Not so good if you're a landlord, but great if you're a tenant. And there are firms out there, particularly in the San Francisco area, that will take your case on contingency. So you want to find out, do I have a case that I can even get contingency? And, you've got all the resources that are available to us. Do a Google search, go on to Avo, schedule a consultation with a lawyer. Again, it can be worth paying for that just for an hour with a lawyer. A lot of private firms do that. If you're in the Virginia area, the Fairfax Bar Lawyer Referral Service is a great resource. I can't remember what the cost is. It used to be like $50. Maybe it's gone up a little bit. And they will pair you with a lawyer to get a phone consult, for the $50. Other bar associations have similar programs, so you can contact your county bar. Some are better than others, so don't be terribly discouraged if you get one where it's not particularly helpful. But my point is there are avenues to get lower cost, attorney consultations, or borrow money for a friend, or if you have it, pay $500, $700, it can be more or less depending on where you are in the country, to pay for an attorney's time to give you some advice. So find out, is your case even one where you can get contingency? If it is, then use this series to call around, do the things that I recommended to see if you can find a firm that will take it on contingent fee. If you are not in that category and you've talked to an attorney and they say this is not one that is typically, you're not going to get a contingent fee relationships. What you need is pro bono if you're going to get a lawyer. Then, contact area law schools. If there's an advocacy organization that's helping you, contact them. Look for law firms that offer pro bono programs. So if that's what you need, then that's an appropriate way to look up that term, pro bono. You can call them up and ask them. They should be able to help you. There are also, Legal Aid is another organization that provides either low cost or pro bono services. Can be very helpful. There are some law firms, particularly I know in the DC area, that will have clinics, so you can come and you're not going to have a lawyer for the long haul of your case, but they will often have lawyers there to provide free advice, even help review documents, maybe help you fill them out depending on what kind of case it is, to get you some help for free. So you can look up your state's bar association. They're usually the ones that will host those, and sometimes law firms will as well. So I hope that's helpful. I hope you understand the difference now between contingency fee and pro bono arrangements, and I wish you best of luck finding the help that you need. If you'd like to learn more about employment law or about our firm, you can certainly subscribe to this podcast. Leave us a review if you find this helpful. It helps other people find us. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, where I post pretty regularly information about employment law and other legal topics. Wishing you all the best.